Shauna, what were some of the big takeaways from that Michigan State game? What's been the emphasis these last few days?
Really just cleaning everything up. I went into that game saying we had to play with great discipline, and we did not do that. So, obviously how they play, they force you to play really chaotic and faster than you want. So, you give them 26 points off turnovers, which really the press, when we broke it all down, they only scored 2 points off actual press into a run out. But they had multiple points in the half court, and then again, just cumulative effect with their pressure. Especially when we really only have 1 point guard. It's just, it's a tough matchup for us. So give them credit, but we evaluated it. We watched the film. We talked it all through, and we just got to be sharper. Obviously with the ball, but then defensively. My biggest thing was defensively. We made a lot of mistakes. And you can't afford to do that against a really good team like that. And we had been so good and so locked in and so disciplined in our previous 2 games defensively to give up only 50-some points apiece. And then you give up, our highest point total of the year. So, it's really learn and a quick turnaround. And our mind goes to Northwestern.
How would you characterize the mistakes? Scouting report, fundamentals?
I think a little bit of everything. We knew they're right-hand drivers, and they drove right way too much. That's discipline, that's focus on doing the scout. And again, we had been elite at scout defense the previous 2 games. So I think those mistakes are a mixture of everything, because if you're not focused and you're not locked into that stuff, then you give up things that they need in order to thrive in. So we just, we weren't good enough that night, and again, we're over it. We've learned, and just like if we beat them, you gotta learn and you gotta move on.
How much different of a player just is Barry that first game against Ohio State versus what you kind of see from her now in practice and in games as well?
Yeah, she's come a long ways in a short time. She hasn't even played that many games really. So, and every game for her is just another opportunity to learn. At Michigan State, that's obviously she played at Ohio State, but she also played more of the 4 in that game. Now she's playing more of the 3, having to handle the ball a little bit more. But I'm really, really happy with her growth and her progress, and just how she continues to get better and to get better daily. And the amount of time and work she's putting into watching film, to getting in the gym, getting extra shots, working on her overall game. She's going to be a great player here, and really happy with her.
When they have been good, what do you see out of Northwestern that kind of gives you pause?
Yeah, Northwestern, first off, they're much improved from last year. They have some really good transfers that are more athletic. They can score the ball better. They're playing with a faster pace. And really their last 2 games that they've played, which have been against Minnesota and Indiana. Minnesota, they're up 16 with about 5 minutes left in the game. Northwestern's up. And then they lost to Indiana by only 4. This is a team that is really close, and again, much improved just by how they play, and they're playing, who knows what they'll do against us, but they're playing a little bit more man-to-man than what they've previously been known for, the Blizzard defense. Again, they can score the ball at a higher clip, and they're also way more athletic, so they can get to the rim. They put more pressure on you in order for us defensively.
Big picture, I know you always talk about defense being such an adjustment for freshmen, but to have Erica and Cece just to see defense, is that the biggest thing? Obviously there's a weight component, but is that the biggest thing to getting them here at semester?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, they both, wanted to. Obviously, us being from Australia, that's a pretty normal thing for Australians to come over here because they graduate. And then when Cece, brought it, her parents, brought it up to me, it wasn't even on my radar, because I didn't think that it would be something that they'd want to do, and I'm all for it. I mean, what a huge advantage to have both of them here, to be in our practices, to be in film, to see the league, to be able to go to all, watch these games, to be in the locker room, to see what it's like after a loss, what it's like after a win. Those are things that now they can kind of get a feel for. So next year, it's not going to be like, oh my gosh, what's going on, right? And then obviously just like the intensity of what we want daily, the focus on scout. There's so much, and that's not even talking about off the court where, strength and conditioning, nutrition, all of that. Huge advantage for them to be here, and I'm happy that they are here.
What does it mean for them just to physically be around people who are so important? Kendall, Jen, Adalia, just to see their day to day?
I think that's another huge piece, and I think that's why both of them really thought this would be valuable, is to see, having so many fifth years and just people that really understand what it takes to be successful, how they go about their business every day, how they go about their, recovery, their extra work in the film room, their extra work on the floor. Those are the things that just watching that, because next year we're going to be young. We're not going to have a huge senior class. And so they're going to kind of understand, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what it takes. This is how they lead. This is what they're talking about in the locker room. This is what they talk about in a huddle. Those things are invaluable as we continue to grow into next year, where they're going to have a little bit of that knowledge, and hopefully they can, be a voice next year.
You're trying to get, Dal and Jen and KB through these last 2 months, the way that you're asking them to play. Do you do maintenance days? How do you schedule things throughout the last 2 months to get them to the finish line?
Yeah, we've been trying to be smart about it. So after Indiana, we only had the 2-day prep. So we didn't do a ton on the floor. We just got shots up that day, like 20 minutes, just get them moving, get their legs going, and then it was all recovery. We're limiting, some of their reps up and down. And then, like after Michigan State, we had Monday, we had off completely. And they came in here to do all the recovery. They had massages and really just maintain their body. I told them I needed them just rest, mentally, physically. Yesterday we practiced our normal hard practice, and then today we'll go about an hour and a half, same thing. And the schedule is nice because after Northwestern, then we have another day off, where it'll be a complete day off. What's been getting us is those 2-day preps with a short bench, and I've tried different things, so we'll just continue to see what works, and we may even have to change it up as we go, as the season goes further along, of just cutting down more reps and getting them even more rest.
Your first year, I know you talked just a lot about, the net and talking to your team about those big picture conversations. What does that kind of even look like this year for your team, and how you maybe kind of approach that?
No, we've continued to talk about it because they're still a veteran team and they understand it, and our goals haven't changed. So, they knew, I told them going to Indiana, that was a quad 1, opportunity. They knew Michigan State was a quad 1 opportunity. And we still have some quad 1s left on our schedule, which is great about this league. And then, I guess I'm more so those opportunities. I'm not going to tell them. I'll have to find a way to, because I don't want to put too much pressure on each game, because each game in this league, anything can happen. As I just said, Northwestern's up 16, against Minnesota. They didn't pull it out, but they should have beat them, and they should have probably beat Indiana. So we just know from past experience, and my message to them is every game for us is just as important as a quad 1 game. And we know when teams have maybe looked over us and we've gone and beat them. So we have the mindset that every game, the next game is our biggest game of the year. And I got to try to get them up for that and prepare them for that. And then with this veteran group, they have a good understanding of it.
What did you see from those were 3 teams that you just came off of playing favorably, seeing in the nets and quad opportunities. What did you see from those 3 games and learn about your team in that small window?
Yeah, just like I've been saying, the resiliency in them, the ability for them to really lock in and defend, in those 3 games. And then obviously the Michigan State, we all know, they know, we just weren't as sharp in it. But the Iowa Indiana game, we were really, really sharp. We were really, really focused. We were consistent. And then you see the Minnesota and the Michigan State game, we had opportunities, and it just wasn't the consistency on the defensive end, on the offensive execution end, for 40 minutes. And that process is what leads us to the outcome. So the process is our main focus, and the process was really, really sharp and disciplined process in Iowa and Indiana. And we got to get back to that if we want outcomes to go the way we want them to go.
Since we're talking to Barry in a second, within the context of being a freshman in the big, anything surprise you that she does, or about her habits or routines?
I just think, I don't know if it's surprise, because I know that's who she is as a person, but what I've loved is the work ethic, the want and the desire to just continue to get better. She's constantly in the gym. She's constantly in with coaches, working on her game. She really can listen and then apply stuff quickly, which isn't necessarily happen all the time with freshmen. She understands the game. And then just something with her, she really is so even keel that she doesn't really get too high or too low. So that's a good thing. Whether I get on her or whether she messes up or whether she does something great, she's pretty steady and with her mindset, and that's something that's going to pay dividends as she continues to grow and just continue to mature in her game and understanding what we want here.
I mean, obviously you know her family pretty well.
Yeah.
Is that even keel pretty par for the course for what you know about the rest of everyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also, she's a coach's kid, and I think that I don't know if her dad's always even
Sure.
keel coaching, but what coach is. So, but he did a great job, just instilling in her the right way to play. And I always think that when you have a dad as your coach and has coached just the IQ piece, she understands the game at a really high level. So yeah, and even, I'm trying to think back to recruiting her sister. I think Barry's even more even keel than her older sister was. So I think some of that, they have a lot of kids, and you know how that is, every kid's different. But she's such a great person too. Like, you just want her to do so well because she's just a great kid, does things the right way, works her butt off, and you do those things, you're gonna find success in whatever it is that you're doing.
Calamity spoke a little bit last week too about moving her over to Coach Barry with some of the injuries you had. What kind of behind that decision? Maybe do you feel like that would be a relationship that would work?
Well, she was with our hybrids, and with Bryn and Shay and Irene, which really we were guard and post stuff. But then I just really, I really thought that it was something we needed. We need her to be a guard, more of a guard, where we can always post her up, we can always do that, but we need her handle to get tighter, her just ball confidence in general to be at a higher level. So that's when I decided, and with Calamity, then, Makaira's out, Gretchen's out, so she's down numbers. I thought it'd be really good for her to move over with Calamity and to work with the point guards and just to have, that mindset of a guard and all the ball handling stuff, all the shots off the dribble and finishes. And Coach Mack does a just unbelievable job with our point guards, and I just thought that would be a great person for her to really get taught by and mentored by, and I think it's paying dividends.